People always ask me,
Zach, do you hire Amazon virtual assistants that have no experience or ones that already have experience?
well, today I'm going to break down why I hire from the Philippines for no experience and how I make that work for my Amazon store that does $1 million a year in revenue. What's up? I'm Zach. I first started online retail in 2017, and in 2021, I made my first hire from the Philippines. I had plenty of iterations of hiring, figuring out what to look for in a good virtual assistant, and now I have my full-time team 3 that run my Amazon store. So in the past year, I've brought my expertise of hiring from the Philippines to several 7- and 8-figure Amazon sellers, some of them you might have seen on some listings before, with the goal of finding them great talent from the Philippines. And many of them have looked for no experience for these same reasons that I'm gonna outline today. So my goal today is to give you a little concept that I have been using a lot to train my virtual assistants that have no experience in my business. So first of all, why are we looking for someone with no experience anyway? Seems kind of stupid, right? Why not just find someone that can already do it? Well, the first reason I look for no experience is because you start with a clean slate. I've met plenty of Filipinos where they were hired by an Amazon seller that maybe didn't really know what they were doing or didn't quite do things the way I would. And so I found with those virtual assistants, I spent a lot more time having to unlearn what they learned and then retrain them my way of doing things. So I found it easier to just start from the beginning with a clean slate. I don't have to worry about them having external influences, prior miscommunications, or things people would do differently than I would in my business. It avoids those kind of conflicts. Second one is gonna be new perspectives. When someone has always been in the Amazon industry for their experience, they tend to do things like everyone else. And especially in a business like Amazon where you have to have some sort of edge, I like working with people that can bring a unique perspective, maybe something that we don't do in the Amazon space that another business does that would apply really well. Me, myself especially, I tend to be very set in my ways, and so when someone from another industry, maybe like, they used to be a real estate virtual assistant or lead generation, something like that, they can bring in that perspective and maybe teach us a new way of doing things, a different perspective to bring to the table that they wouldn't have if they had already just spent their whole career doing Amazon virtual assistants. And the last one is gonna be better rates. Obviously, you have to invest some time of your own upfront into creating good training so that they can actually come out to benefit you, but experience demands higher pay. That's just how the job market works. And so by focusing on people that have no experience, I'm able to care more about the character that they have and the values they have that align with someone I'm looking for, rather than being blinded by their experience and looking good on their resume. And so along with that, I'm able to find someone who is at a rate that works well for us. And this is all subjective, obviously, because we're hiring from the Philippines, which is going to be way cheaper than hiring from someone from the US. But when I look for someone with no experience, I get it at a rate that works better for my company. So what were the mistakes I made when I first started hiring for no experience and having to go through the training process? The first one is going to be analysis paralysis. Basically, I just gave them too much information at once. They were overloaded with all this information and ended up not being able to make good decisions, if any, because there was just so much information coming at them. Early on, I went way too fast, moved people up in the ranks too quickly, and they ended up not fully understanding the concepts at each level before moving up. Now, here's the template that we have. We'll say the North Star is the skill that we are trying to master. And this is how I conceptualize the training. So we start off with the foundational level, right at the bottom. If someone claims they already have some sort of understanding of the foundational level, that doesn't really matter to me, because I find people can use reminders and also might pick up stuff that they didn't learn previously if they had like a little bit of background knowledge. So I always will start at the bottom, no matter what someone's level is. And then once I think they understand the foundational knowledge well, we'll move on to the concepts, how to apply that foundation to the actual task at hand. Then how to use software to implement that in sort of a philosophical way. The software can be a way to not have to learn the foundational. And so I start with no software and just learning the basic concepts so that we can use the software as a tool like it's designed rather than a replacement for understanding. Then once we have built on that, we can compound that up to advanced processes. And then finally, feedback loops, which is a continuous forever process, but basically just seeing how the inputs of what we did affected the outcome and seeing how we can revise those inputs the next time to create a better outcome. And so I really work with a pyramid like this because I think knowledge is compounding. And in order to understand the concepts further up, you have to understand the more basic ones first. The analogy I like to use is it's like trying to learn calculus without knowing how to add and subtract. Now, specifically to Amazon online arbitrage, this is how I apply it for a product research role, someone that's mastering the skill of product research. At the foundational level, we start with product matching. This is literally just finding the ASIN on Amazon that matches the supplier link. And we do that over and over again to understand what a match looks like for product research. Only then, once we've understood the foundation of that, do we move on to profitability and sales volume. Now, this is still very rudimentary. Like profitability in the beginning, we're just looking at revenue minus cost of goods sold. We don't get complex into the FBA inbound fees, the pick and pack, because again, analysis paralysis, that only serves to confuse them, not help them understand better. And then sales volume, what it means for an item to sell well and how that matters to us. And then we can move up to the tools. So using Keepa, RevSeller, ASIN Zen, whatever your preference is for software, but Keepa is gonna be across the board, at least I hope. And then we can use that to understand how to see profitability over time and sales volume over time, rather than just at that present moment. And then sourcing methods, so how to actually apply this knowledge to finding products. Now, sourcing methods and Keepa could be interchanged, where you teach your team the sourcing methods first before diving into the tools like Keepa and RevSeller. And then the last is the continuous improvement for everlasting feedback loop of reviewing the sales. So seeing how the leads you sourced actually performed in the real world and seeing maybe what you didn't notice originally, what you can learn to continue that feedback loop of mastering product research. And then now applying that to an operations management role, someone who's not in the context of a product research. Now, in my team, I like to have everyone start as a product researcher because I think it's the foundation of an online arbitrage, especially it's the foundation of a good Amazon business, a good retail business in general. So people tend to already have that context if they're moving up to this operations management role. But if I was just starting from no experience in Amazon at all, I would start at the foundation of Amazon context. So why this actually matters to us, why we're managing our operations. Then Seller Central, learning basically all the data that we can get, all the reports and information we can receive. And then the tools section is gonna be my Google Sheets, which is gonna be quite an undertaking for someone because I have plenty of those, how to use all our macros, all the different tabs, all the different colors. So that's a very important part and probably the longest section of someone learning to be an operations manager in a company like mine, in an Amazon business like mine. Next is gonna be reconciliation in the advanced process because it's hard to start doing any reconciliation, at least higher level reconciliation, if you don't understand the concepts, the Google Sheets, how to use Seller Central to get the data. And then finally is the feedback loop of KPIs. As an operations manager in an Amazon business, I think tracking KPIs over time is very crucial. And so that's gonna be the feedback loop you have of seeing how the inputs of you and your team around you affected the actual KPIs. KPIs could be like your inventory health, your stranded inventory, how the sourcing team is doing, how the sales are doing, the profit per item, how many units were sent in, that sort of stuff. And finally, how could you apply this to your own Amazon business? So if you're looking to hire someone for no experience, which as I talked about, there's a lot of reasons why it could be a good choice for you. It is usually for me. But the first thing you're gonna have to do is invest the time up front to build the training at each level of your pyramid. After you've built out your pyramid, what's gonna be at the top, the North Star, figuring out the training modules for each. And like I said, this takes a lot of iteration. I've been working on mine for many years, our training process. So not the easy part, but it's more of an upfront thing. And by building my own training, I'm able to teach them the way I do things because in business in general, but I think especially in Amazon, people do things a lot of different ways. It's hard to have an identical business. So by me being the one who's actually providing the training and building the training, I make sure it's accurate to what I want. And then I would apply this by setting clear requirements for what it means to level up. Because earlier I talked about the mistakes that I made, and one of them was leveling up people too fast. So setting clear requirements for what it looks like to hit that next level, what it means to understand the foundational, and now you can unlock the next one. And tactically, that could just be like a quiz at the end that proves that they have learned the concepts fully. So I hope this video was informative to you. I hope you use it in your next virtual assistant hire. Maybe you'll find someone with no experience, because I think there's a lot of opportunity in there. And for me, it's been a great decision for my business to look for people without experience. So I appreciate you watching to the end. Thank you so much, and follow me for more stuff on hiring from the Philippines.